Hello and welcome to Lessons from High Stakes Journeys, the pressures of personalization. My name is Catherine Peters. I am one of the senior account directors at Qualified Digital, which you may or may not know. That's okay, you'll know us after today. But we are an end-to-end digital strategy and experience agency, organization, partner, collaborator. Very happy to be here with all of you and to be chatting about this topic that I think a lot of people hear a lot about, and it's become one of those that, what is the definition anyway? So as we continue on stage with me today, ladies, Lauren, Amanda, will you please introduce yourselves?
So hi, I'm Amanda Hobbs, and I'm with Common Spirit Health. And I am within the marketing department, and I'm over our digital MarTech stack, responsible for consumer engagement and digital enablement.
Lauren McHugh, Kaiser Permanente, and I sit within our Journey Orchestration team, and also integrate with MarTech operations and marketing strategy.
All right, woo, let's give them a hand, right? All right, yeah. You know what? Let's do one more round for each of you for showing up here today, too. All right. You could have been in a lot of different places, but you chose us. Thank you. So really today, let's get to the point quite quickly. The pressure that we're all under, which is, according to our friends at Boston Consulting Group from a survey and research done in 2024, $2 trillion are set to be impacted and generated from personalization efforts. As many of you know, that's a lot of money, and that means a lot of conversations to make that happen. So why are we here to talk about this, and how did this conversation get started? I think really when we had the opportunity, thank you to Adobe for hosting all of us and inviting us to be sponsors for this talk today, we started talking about like what are some of the things that keep coming up, and so often it is this conversation around what is personalization, how do we affect change, and the thing that continued to come up time and time again was there are a lot of people that you have to get in the room to make that happen, and there's a lot of tools, there's a lot of investment, and there's just a lot that needs to happen. And we continue to come back to in our conversations has been, it's about the people, it's not just one person, and these are all kind of things we're gonna be talking about today that are industry agnostic. You may be, as you've probably picked up, to large healthcare organizations for this beautiful country of ours. But it's so much more than that. So why don't we go ahead and start getting into it? I'm already off all of my notes, which is awesome. Great. Would love for you guys to start out by talking to us about what is personalization to you and what does it mean to your organization in 2026. Lauren, I'm going to start with you because you pushed to Amanda to start.
That's true. That is fair point. Fair point. So personalization, as you just mentioned, it means so many different things. And I think where we are right now is that we're trying to go beyond the personalization of we know you by name, we know you by location. And this is our North Star where we all want to go, but it's really about becoming more anticipatory. And I think in order to even bring this down to some grounding is that it's also getting our teams, getting our people to be thinking about the anticipatory piece of it, which is not just the tool, but how do you think about journey flows? How do you even figure out what are those 5 routes or maybe 10 routes that somebody might go? So for us, it's definitely, we're in a crawl walk phase, but definitely something that we're trying to build into the thinking, not just personalization as a tool, as the thing that happens.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think, for us, when you're operating at about 20 million patient encounters annually, personalization is no longer an option, right? Like you need to be delivering that true personalization, right message, right person, right time. And without that, that can be a care quality issue at that level. And I think that, for us, it was really about moving to that full omni-channel, end-to-end journey and having that capability. And we're going to get into it a little bit more, but like all of the people, the processes, the time, the data that it takes to get there it's a lot. But that's what we're here to unpack.
Awesome. Speaking to kind of where you are in the journey, can you guys tell us a bit about the Adobe tools that you all have adopted and kind of where you are in that maturity of each of those tools?
I'm going to keep looking over to you. Like, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. Yeah. So for us, we have implemented the full stack at this point. We started, I've been with the organization for about 13 years, and so I think my first summit was in 2017, and we were on AEM. And I know we've talked about kind of like, what's that order of operation, and I don't think there's any magic, there's no magic flow for that. So we started with AEM, we had Marketo, Adobe Advertising, but now we are in the realm of AJO, Real-Time CDP, the full AEP stack, if you will. And yeah, it's been a great journey, but it's taken a little while.
That's great. We also, from a journey perspective, I've been with KP for 10 years, and we have gone through many iterations with Adobe. And we currently leverage Marketo. We're moving into AJO. We've got real-time CDP, AJO. Just gonna throw out. I'm gonna throw out all the things. But
Every acronym that exists.
everything.
CJA.
Yeah, CJA. And I think to what Amanda just noted is that there isn't, just like much of the products, it's not linear. So our teams, like our head of automation and operation and our leader on KPX, has done a really good job of pulling folks in through specific tools that get them grounded in the change that's going to be required. So for example, Marketo was really critical because we're a company that's been around a long time. We're a brand that's been around a long time. We have a lot of legacy systems, like many of us here do. But starting with something that is in a familiar space, like email, is a great way to get people engaged and understand, like, okay, when we say you're moving from batch and blast, what does that really mean, right? When you say you're moving from campaigns to journeys, what is that? And we're going to ask you all that later. So best of luck.
I'd also love to understand, like, we all know there's a lot of upfront investment and there's a lot of kind of hard conversations to make the case for why should you be getting these tools. So can you talk to us a bit about kind of the positioning and the kind of business unlock that you spoke to other executives and team members about in order to kind of get these tools off the ground?
Yeah, so I think our business case for all of this is probably, like 5 years old at this point, but I can tell you that we still pull it out often and refer to it. And so really putting that together in the beginning, having a good, solid foundation for that is critical. Because I can't tell you, every year when it comes to budgeting, we're pulling out that same business case, we're looking at those numbers, we're showing where we are, where we're going, and so that is like critical to having those hard conversations to get the investment for this.
That's great. The investment, it's such an interesting question because at KP, it hasn't been this like, we're going to invest in this and that's it. It's been invested in multiple areas. So it's been invested in IT, it's been invested in marketing, sales organization, and again, even in the 10 years that I've been here, that's part of the transformation, is understanding who should be building what. And there's power struggle, naturally, which we all face. But I feel like this year, very recently, it's like we're finding our stride. Everyone's starting to understand why marketing should be driving certain things. And it's not an ownership. I think that's the other thing that's critical as we talk about change management. It's not like, hey, marketing's the gatekeeper. Marketing's the business driver. Marketing's the one who's like, how do we get you to love us, to know us, to stay with us? So investment hasn't been the issue. It's the the using it and the making it worth the while that I think we're all kind of looking at. What are those quick wins? But they're slow quick wins.
I hope somebody is taking notes on this. That would be helpful to send around on the back of this. Okay, let's talk a moment about the internal pressure points. So often there are kind of these different buckets of things. As you're seeing on the slide here, there's 4 of them that kind of we've been talking about that kind of distill it down. Which one was kind of most important for you to unlock in those conversations internally as we think about the speed to deliver, data accuracy, privacy, and organizational alignment?
Speed to delivery. I'm just looking out at folks too, because everybody's told, go do it, go figure it out. And the interesting thing is multiple people in your organization are being told to go do that. So hence collisions, as well as, everybody looking around at each other going, wait, what are we supposed to deliver? What does delivery mean? Does it mean a successful fill in the blank? So I feel like we're always pressured to go move faster. But something we've all been talking about is that the data accuracy is not a technology issue, it's an organizational issue. Because without it, this is just, as I've mentioned before, it's like kabuki theater, right? You're sort of like, this is a fun tool, but if there's nothing there, if it's not clean data, if it's not usable, you can't really get everybody along. So I would say speed to delivery, organizational alignment, but we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, I echo everything that you just said. I think for us, the data accuracy was a big pressure point. I mean, we are an organization, like I'm sure many of you are, that have acquired and many legacy systems, and everything is not connected, and that's an issue. That is an issue for us every day in this work. I feel like we have so many conversations where I'm like, surely someone has that. Surely someone has a list of all of these things, and then no one in our organization has that list. And it's shocking at times. So you end up doing it yourself because that's the way you get it done. I think all 4 of these are critical. And I think I'm learning this a little bit more now, but organizational alignment is probably the most important, because without it, the other 3 don't matter. You can't accomplish the other 3. And so really focusing in and not cutting corners in that area is really important.
I love that. Thank you. Okay, here's a fun slide. Let's talk about service design. I am going to ask for a bit of audience engagement right now. Just, why not get your body shaken? How many of you in the room have heard of service design? Well, you guys from QD, you can't raise your hands. Okay. Woo, this is fun. All right, great. So service design, are you ready for this, is the new version of journeys, users, North Stars, blueprints, all of this. So it's a wonderful rebrand. However, what we really think is the power of service design is the ability to connect. Here's another fun slide. The front of the stage with the backstage. You cannot have a successful production without great tech team in the background doing the lighting, the setup, all of it. That's for all of my fellow thespians out there. So service design, really, the way we describe it is it allows us to visualize the future experience and plan how to connect the people, processes, and technology to make that work. So what we mean by that is you've got that initial customer experience. They're going to your site or they're going to Google something. They click on an ad. Then you need that capturing those moments in that journey when you need to start connecting with them. Then layered on, we have the data and ultimately the technology. All of that is going to help you and start plotting out how, where, when, how many times. The thing that's not on here, which is extremely powerful, is starting to think about the organizational alignment that you need, thinking about the resources, thinking about the teams. When you start kind of on a new web experience or omni-channel experience, feels like content's often the last thing to come in, when oftentimes it's something that you need to start planning for from the very beginning. And so with that, would love to hear a little bit more from the 2 of you guys about how service design allowed you to really embark on your journey in connecting all the different tools in the ecosystem.
So I feel like most personalization projects really start with the tool or the campaign, and that's not the way you want to approach this. For this practice, you really need to start with mapping the full experience, and that's the work that we did, which is the hardest work. It really will bring to light all of those little issues that need to be fixed. And so you really need to, the way I look at it is we built the journey before building the journey. And so you really need to have that all laid out. There's a mile-long Miro board of the work that we've done. Like literally it's a mile long. But that's the detail that you need, because otherwise you're gonna get into the work and realize that you didn't realize you needed this connected to this, or you needed to suppress this, and you needed this to not fire when you needed this to fire. And so really building out that full journey is critical.
Everything Amanda just said is spot on with the detail. And the other piece is that I feel like in most of these sessions and even these conversations we're having, everyone's looking for the silver bullet, the thing that's gonna actually be like, okay, what's the thing? What do I do? This is it, like truly. And I found in working with QD, it was a huge unlock. I mean, we've got Leah sitting in front who was amazing with our in-group growth. It was incredible because it does everything in terms of, these aren't stakeholders, these are your partners. So you can't keep telling everybody something's happening. They have to be in it with you, and it has to be authentic, not like, okay, precious, like you're gonna try this. So, there's a level of bring them in, show them the pathway. We talk about journeys. They mean many different things. I'm looking at another partner who I work with closely, Silva, on our new member experience, and Silva's incredible. The marketing strategy team, imperative. Your marketing strategists are the drivers, and you are their co-pilot in helping them think through it. And the map, it's the process, like you said. It's the fact of you have to be in it, you can't go around it, you have to go through it, and you have to unpack, okay, so we want personalization. Well, again, great, where's your data? What questions are you asking about your data? Like, Silva, you've done that so many times, which I absolutely love, which is like, is this gonna work? Probably not. Like, let's try this. So I would say truly, if there's anything to take away from that's tangible, this is the thing I would do. If I were starting like any initiative, I would always leverage service design, and QD has been a fantastic partner in that.
Yeah, the other thing I would add too is that it really gives you like that shared language. And so once you have everything built out and you've defined what it is, then like whether it's your stakeholders or it's your IT partners, it's legal, it's clinical operations, for us anyway, you have that shared language, and you can really start to look at your progress in that way as well, versus like, oh, I have this new piece of information and this new piece of data, versus like, we've accomplished this so far, these use cases have been launched. It just gives you a very common way to discuss it.
Thanks, guys. I love that. Okay, I'd love to understand when you guys talk about scale, hot topic, what does it mean to you all, and kind of how has some of this service design been able to aid unlocking how do we get to scale?
So as you can see, I'm very excited about this because
I know you are.
I think scale, and it hit me in these sessions. I was like, scale is this dirty word because it makes you think that there's a mecca to reach, and there isn't. And I think that's part of what leads us all to this space of, am I doing it right? Why am I not moving faster? Because it's not realistic. It's just not, right? Like Amanda, you said it earlier, of the crawl is really where most of us are. I mean, truly, it's like and the crawl doesn't mean you're not doing anything, but the foundational pieces are not sexy, but you need to set them up, and you need to have the people in place. So I think scale you can do, but it's iterative. So it's like scale with gates and milestones that you can come back and report on progress. So it's different mindset.
Yeah, I think we were talking earlier, and it's like there really needs to be more conversations around the crawl. Like, you see demos, you see the perfect scenario, and that's running great. We all want to get there, and hopefully we all will eventually. But the crawl is the work that we're all in. I'm sure many of you sitting in here today are like in that crawl phase, and more honest conversations around that I think are really critical. And for us, scale, we had grand illusions of being able to we're going to work through service lines. We're going to start with primary care, and then we're going to move to cardiology, and then we're going to do this. And it's each one of those are so complex that we really started to shift our thinking more to okay, well, we've developed abandoned cart. Now let's just take that and apply it to all of our other online scheduling capabilities instead of starting with this grand cardiovascular, type of journey. So there's just different ways to think about that scale to make it a little bit more achievable.
What is one misconception about scaling personalization that you've learned the hard way? Do you want to answer this?
Do you want? I'm
you
yes.
guys didn't cut this from when we were rehearsing.
It's true. I'm acting surprised. I was I didn't think about this one.
Did you see this? We did talk about it.
I would say with, so the use case I keep going back to is our in-group growth. So I think, oh my God, now I'm losing my train of thought. Welcome to middle age. I was what was the question again?
You got it in.
I know.
Just repeat it. Go ahead.
Just repeat it. Where are we? Am I outside?
What's one misconception about?
I'm sorry. I know. Sad but true. I'm really. Please repeat.
Please keep going.
So one misconception. Oh, okay. About how we learn. Okay. So, I'm back. For events. So we were talking about. At KP, we're a huge organization, and we are, in commercial in-group growth is all about getting those leads, especially from the marketing side, right? So oh my God, it's happening again. I'm really sorry. This is a moment in time. Okay, so event lead capture. Here we go. I'm back again. Okay. So I know. I'm whoo. Okay. We all thought it was going to be more simple. We thought, this goes back to the service design piece, right? All these things are sandwiched together. You can't have one without the other. So we're oh, we can hit this many markets, we can do this much, and then we're oh, cut to, no, you cannot, and you have to start small, really, really small. But it's less about wouldn't have done it differently, but Lauren Bright and I were just talking about this. She's our lead strategist on this, and it's something that we learned a lot from, where we're okay, now the important thing is don't do it again, right? Don't keep repeating it over and over again. So now we know, and now we know we have to fund things a certain way, and we've got Allison on the QD team who's bringing us into what do you need to do from a technology standpoint, and why is it important, and then what is the buy-in you need to get people to understand that it's not just the lead forms, it's re-operationalizing the sales team, the account managers, the relationship with marketing. So that's why this stuff is so tricky.
What was the question again? No, just kidding. I'm I think, yeah, I know. It's not so much about designing the consumer experience, but it's also designing everything that's going to change because you put this into motion. And a lot of that is your internal stakeholders, processes that they have to change. You're literally asking them to work differently in some ways, whether that's within your marketing team or whether that's in operations, because now there's a new process for online scheduling and they have to do something different. And so I think that's an area that maybe I didn't quite realize when I went into this process. So.
Great, thank you. And Lauren, glad we got there. So when we think about, activating personalization, we've been talking about the technology, the service design, but I feel there's also that moment where you're okay, so we bought the technology, now what? So can you guys talk to us a little bit about the internal partnerships and how you guys were able to bring people together? You're continuing to bring people together. You're doing that socialization. You've created that narrative. Take us through that, because so often on the client services side, that's the point where kind of you get to, and something can crash and burn really quickly if it is not presented in the right manner and kind of understood across the business with the right people. And there's nothing worse than getting in a room and then getting hammered with questions that you can't yet answer. So,
I'll go back to the same examples that I think we're, oh my God. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, you go first. Like, you go first.
I wasn't prepared yet. No,
sorry.
I think,
You're awesome.
so
Such a moment.
let's face it, like buying the technology is the easy part. Like that's the easiest part that you can do. Implementing it, owning it, determine how to even use it is the hard part. It takes, I wouldn't say an army because I don't think any of us have an army, unfortunately, but it takes a lot of coordination between marketing, IT, clinical operations. For us, that was our magic piece, was like having a really tight connection between everyone. But buying the technology is the easy part. After that, that organizational alignment is the really tough part. And that's the part that, like I've mentioned before, I didn't realize quite going into it. So yeah, I would say that's probably the hardest part.
I love that. And also, Amanda, when we were talking yesterday, the clinician piece in healthcare, it's incredible what she's done with her partners because it's almost, I'm like, oh, how did you do that? Because we, at KP, you know, we're set up, we're very big. We've got the PMG practice, we've got the IT area, we've got marketing, we have sales, and we've all heard like it's silos, but it's, to bring it together is something that, in terms of, again, going back to tangibility, we haven't cracked what you guys just cracked, which I think is incredible. But it's bringing it's not waiting, bring everybody in with you. And you know how everyone likes to say the sausage making and whatnot. Like I've realized also too that metaphors that I hate, I now continue to use because, you know, I don't have anything else. But there's the marketing strategy team. It was critical for Second Sale. It's been critical for a new member. Like, don't treat them like second citizens, like depending on where you're sitting. Like, have everybody be a true partner. Show them the mess, right? Show them like, here's what we're thinking through, because they often help. And the same thing goes for analytics, for our national market research team. Like, I found with Second Sale too, commercial and group growth, is that we also had like a super strong marketing strategy lead that before we even got to technology, so it's like to that point of, you know, you bought it, but it's not a technology conversation first, it's a structural conversation. So with sales and account management, the lead, Hannah G, started to create these go-to-market playbooks of how you can tier accounts and how we can go to market together to align everything. That to me was the secret sauce of what also helped us with QD go off of something and not just have us create really awesome work in a vacuum. So I would say it's multiple or multifaceted.
I love that. Okay, with that, were there any points in the project process where you've had to stop and pivot, and what were some of the trade-offs that you had to make? Yeah, it stinks. It always happens somewhere.
We had so many pivots, I don't even know where to begin. And it's interesting because talking about that, like that trifecta of clinical operations, marketing, and IT, I think that really came out of a pivot, like a major pivot that we had as an organization. We had planned one pathway to work with one partner for online scheduling platform. We ended up working with Illuvium, which was great in the end. But that was a pivot that we had, and we were not expecting it. And really out of that, I think, came a very strong connection because it's like we went through something together, you know? So we came through that very strong, and it takes relationship building like anything else. I mean, you have to keep continuing to build that trust and kind of team as you're going along. But I think pivots are so challenging, and I feel like we're always bracing ourselves for the next one. But if you stick together through it, like you kind of come out on the other side pretty strong.
Yeah, I love that. Great advice. Okay, so Lauren, you kind of just spoke to this a bit, so maybe you don't have to answer this one. Are there, Amanda, can you speak to us about any moments where things really clicked? Was it a technology milestone? Was it a leadership decision? Was it a team structure change? Unless, Lauren, you have another answer, because I feel like the playbook you just said was like the big unlock. So I don't mean to silence you, sorry.
No, it's okay. I need to be silenced because I don't remember where I am. So, but there's that. Good. Do you want to go, Amanda?
Yeah, I'm also lost in my notes, but no, I think I would just go back to the point of being able to realize that enablement is not the same as activation, and sometimes I think it gets really blurry, like those lines get blurry, and so having that strong relationship between marketing and IT really helps you work through that at times, because I think sometimes it can be kind of a push and pull situation. And so, I don't know, we were able to work through that eventually, but still struggle with it every day, so.
The only add is that when we talked about the pivots mean you're doing it right. So if you're constantly looking at, when I think about, again, Adobe will talk about multi-year planning, right? And these are important things, but it's the tool plus the people. And if you're constantly reassessing, you're good, because you should be, right? Because we don't set it and forget it. So I would say that's just like a good signal for everybody.
Love that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about ROI, because obviously it takes time. So how have you guys been socializing and ensuring that your teams and leadership partners, everybody is kind of aware of where you are in the process?
Okay. Yeah, okay. Like, is it okay, Amanda? Okay, here we are.
I give you permission.
Thank you. So no special code to socialization by any means, because I can see the thing that I love is that where my team sits is that we work across all the journeys. So you can see people and process in different states and kind of take the goodness and share it. With Second Sale, I think there was a couple things at play here, is that it was organic. We had a big charge, which was like make impact fast. We basically got to start from scratch. So that really helped. And there was intention from leadership, so from CMO, from the head of sales. There was just this intention and attention, around it. And then with our VPs, like these layers of the owners of the business, we created a ongoing journey conversation where we could come and talk about the work and truly make it more of a conversation, because folks in the room, we all know it doesn't matter what level you're at. Nobody enjoys like coming from call to call and then just being shown like a set of stats or whatnot. So we really dove into the work sometimes. We dove into what this means. I feel like another big unlock there too was we talked a lot about learning agendas. And I think what's going to be interesting as AJO comes in is there's that logic layer. So you're going to want to talk to people about why this? Why are we approaching it this way? But I would say early, often, try out some different sets, but do a typical influencer mapping of who's important, where and when. And you're going to miss things, and that's okay too. Then you just, you'll follow up.
I think for us, we started with our primary care journey. And, if you think about growth in the organization for a healthcare system, primary care is the front door. So it was very easy to get everyone to buy into that and kind of, again, speak that same language. That awareness to research to scheduling, like that's a flow that leadership is already used to looking at and understanding. So it wasn't a huge leap for us. And while we've, launched our first 7 use cases almost out of like a 24 use case primary care journey, we're not running to them with like numbers yet around like, oh, well, we've got this many scheduled and we had this many people come back from an abandoned cart and book their appointment. We're starting to see those numbers, but as you know, it takes a little time. You need to get enough data in there to really understand it before you start to like share that information. So we're in that point right now, but we can still talk to them about, we've launched this many use cases. This is where we are in the process. This is where we're going. And then again, like, this is why we're doing it. And so, just kind of flipping the script a little bit around, like, what is it that you're actually showing early on that you're achieving while you're gathering those data points to then really go back and be able to share that success that you're having.
Well, that. Great. Thank you guys for doing your homework. Before we kind of wrap up and open up to questions from the audience, I would love to understand, next slide, what advice do you have for others?
Remember that it's only a movie, and it's all going to be fine. And I say this with a touch of sarcasm, but also in reality of, remember, there's gates. There's not going to be an end. There's gates to this. So I think the more you can, with your collective partners, really figure out what your what is. This is where you can't copy others. It's like you really got to figure out your own brand intent and where you want to go. But, trust the process.
I feel like I have a list of 100 things that I wish I could share with everyone, but I think it's important to remember that the technology is really going to force you to make decisions that you didn't even know you were going to be making. And so you just need to allow enough time to have some of those conversations to really be able to make smart decisions. I encourage you to make a friend in every department, because depending on what you're doing and how complex it is, you're going to be knocking on a lot of doors, finding out, like, where is this data? Or who has this information? And again, they may not have it. I would also say governance. We haven't talked a lot about that today, but like governance, and protect it like it's a product. Like, continue to really focus on that. Yeah.
Okay. Great. All right. Well, we've got some time, which is wonderful. We went quickly through that. Would love to open it up to the audience to see if anybody has any questions that we might be able to answer. Let's hope we can.
Can I just get clarification on the service design? Is that another tool?
No, it is a service, a process that we go through, workshopping, bringing lots of different people together in order to create that ultimate artifact that helps in kind of creating that map of how to activate teams and technologies.
Thank you. I'd also say it's like a methodology, right?
Yeah, that too, and a framework, all those words too.
Okay, I'm going to frame my question for Amanda. So I'm from Kaiser Permanente and have picked Lauren's brain daily. So Amanda, you mentioned PCP journey, or sorry, primary care journey. I would love to understand how marketing was aligning to operational capacity, and if you were seeing the need to potentially throttle what you were doing in real time. Maybe you guys were pushing too much and that was impacting appointments negatively and or positively, but I'd love to learn a little bit more there.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways to answer that question. So one kind of goes back to that like strong connection that we have with operations to begin with. So we're working through every market and region and like rolling them into this process. So we're sunsetting their old website. We're putting them on our new one single website with a best-in-class online scheduling experience. And through that process, we're going into that market with operations linked arms with us saying, you need to have your schedules in order, you need your templates in order, you need Epic to be ready or whatever EMR to be able to do this. So that it's not unknown to them going into that. And then having all those connections in place are really critical. So we use online scheduling platform that connects directly into Epic. And so we have the ability to see in real time if those appointments are available. And we also work closely with those markets to make sure that they have the right providers turned on. So if a provider has no availability, then we don't want them coming up in search for accepting new patients, and then that person isn't able to schedule. And so at this point, we haven't run into any issues where they're like, slow down, turn it off. But we have enough connections in place that we would be able to see that before it would happen. Hopefully that answered your question.
As you look at personalization journeys, are you engaging in any sort of appetite for building your own next best action proprietary tool or anything along those lines? And if so, how far out do you think you are from seeing your personalization journey seasoned now so that you could achieve that in the future?
So it's interesting because with our journeys, the like with in-group commercial growth, we're actually at a different stage with personalization than even our new member journey. So we are working on next best actions for new member for the onboarding process. Very early days though, so we're not in the tool yet, like we're not in AJO or anything like that, but we are on the cusp of moving from tasks, to that anticipatory pace, right, of how do we meet you where you are? Because in healthcare, you want everybody to pick a PCP. But in reality, depending on what persona you are, if you're coming in and you are 65 plus, prescriptions might be the most important thing that you do first. So we are still early days, but the shifting mindset's coming, and our partners like Silva, who just asked the question, who's driving this, are very much looking at strategically, how do we get there?
I did not hear the question.
This is good because you're in good company. So he wanted to know, in terms of how far out are we, or where are we maturity-wise with next best action? So whether it's within the tool or whether it's like, how are you guys strategically setting that up?
Yeah. I mean, I think for us, we have, like I said, we have this huge primary care journey that we've built out, and we've thought of that as we've planned out that journey, like what is that next best action? One of the things that we had some success with, and I don't know if this exactly answers your question, but once someone schedules their appointment, the next thing we do is send them an email and soon to be a text to download the patient portal. Like that's the next best action after they schedule their appointment. And we've already seen, like preliminary right now, as we're again building our data, some really great responses from that use case. So it's just one example of like, again, like the whole purpose of this work is to direct the consumer or the patient in what they need. Like what do they literally need next to be able to be successful in their healthcare journey? And if I have my appointment scheduled and I'm a new patient, having my patient portal ready to go is the next best action for them, so.
Hi, so I'm Allison, I'm from QD. This is a leading question for Lauren because I think it would be great for the audience to hear more about this, but I've been working with KP for like almost 5 years now. Yourself, obviously, as well as Steph Seidel and Joe Bennett. And in the time working with you, your roles have shifted. You guys reorged a bit. You now own different elements of this process that is what's unlocking your ability to like move really fast through enablement and activation. So I thought it would be beneficial for everybody else here to hear a little bit more about how you guys went about dividing and conquering in that reorg, your roles and responsibilities, and how that's helped you move faster. And yeah.
It's a great question.
Thank you, Allison.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, again, it's ongoing. So we restructured because of why most people restructure, which is the business is changing, the times are changing. And so as you mentioned, we've got the head of automation who's overseeing Marketo right now. We've got our head, Joe Bennett, over KPX, which is our Adobe stack. And then where I came from and where my team came from is we were so focused on digital. And I say that in air quotes because for KP, digital meant the website, it meant kp.org. And the opportunity came about when we started to talk about journeys, where's the most value? So when we talk about value unlock, my team in partnership, I feel like our partnership is what unlocks us. It's really about, we needed it. We need somebody we need a team of folks who can understand what journeys are, how do you move across a journey, what is the next best action. So it's been a nice complement. But when I say it's still ongoing is, it's unclear right now, right? Where stuff's gonna keep moving. And I think that's for our whole organization, which I will say, that's part of what I'm seeing as a big difference is that even a few years ago, you had like the transformer people or the people who were always out ahead of everybody. It's even playing field now. It's AI has democratized it. Like everybody can do everything to a degree. And I think that's in organizations, it's basically saying, where do I fit? Where do I fit? And the thing I always tell my team too, not that you asked this, but I'm gonna break it down here, is that it's the value. What value are you bringing? What's your impact? And I feel like that's at the core of everything. So thanks for the question.
Bye.
And thank you for prepping that question, because mine's around OCM, organizational change management, and I'm at Abbott right now, shopping for a CDP, and I've noticed I'm on the product side, and taking a lot of requests from the marketers, and I've noticed that they're all in their channels, and they've got their own segments and their own strategies, and who owns the customer is very interesting as well, right? And so have you seen that before, A, right? And then did you go to a center of excellence, after that? Because the ownership of the customer is very interesting right now.
I would say yes, we have seen that. And Center of Excellence is something that we have talked about. We haven't necessarily implemented it in that way yet. And for us, really the change management piece is like, that is where we are now. And I kind of wish we would have worked on it a little bit earlier. And so I don't really have a great, you need to do this and it'll be great, because we're kind of in the messy middle. And I hate that cliche saying as well, but that's a little bit where we are right now. And I think the next probably 6 months, we're really going to be focused in that area.
And everything Amanda said, and same over here, is I don't think like what you just said, it's like everybody wants to own everything. So everybody wants to be like, hey, this is mine. And I think that's part of, not to be, again, continue to use jargon, but the unlock here is democratizing it in a way. Very nice hat.
If anyone wants a hat, just come up and ask a question. Doesn't have to be a good question either.
Yours was everybody's questions are fantastic, but is what Amanda said too, of find opportunities. I guess here's the one thing you're making me think now is when you're tasked with this, you can feel like it's on you to bring it all together. But if you really sit with, who are my partners on this? Who's going to take which piece? So for example, in KP, we have a newly indoctrinated CX team, and I'm like, hallelujah, because we need that center of the wheel. That's not marketing telling everybody else, you need to do this, right? It diffuses. So, yeah, go ahead.
I'm just going to add to that, because I think the other key is identifying what is motivating each team and your partners, and having an open, honest conversation about that. Because if everybody is going in 3 different directions, you're not going to actually get to where you need to go. So that's just another piece, I think, getting to know your partners, spending the time with them, and really pushing on making it clear to everybody when you have different priorities and where they differ and where they converge, and starting to even come together with those people to say, okay, this is a path forward that we think we can all get behind, and presenting that back to leadership teams to then say, hey, what do you think about this? Can we get the sign off on it and go?
Yeah. And I think just bringing us back around, service design, you can't argue with doing the right thing for the consumer, the right thing for the patient. And so sometimes when you're moving people's cheese, or you're arguing about something that you really feel like you need to do next, having that shared language of this is the right thing, this is the next best action, this is the experience that we want to deliver, this is where we are in that process of the journey, is a great way to bring everyone kind of around, even though it's still difficult when you are changing the way you're doing things, and sometimes that comes with a restructure or whatever it might be.
Gotcha. So, and what I heard is there's a CX team that's separate from that, because when I'm thinking about who's creating segmentation and who's creating the journeys in AJO, and I used to be an email person, but now you care about data and attributes from the web, and so who does
Absolutely.
that?
No, and it's funny. You'll get, if you ask Claude, you'll get different. I'm like my new best friend, but you'll get a layered response, because there's no official wrong way to do it, but no, I mean, this is the thing, right? Nobody owns the data, right? So CX can't have everything, but they need to, the way they're orchestrated around it, there needs to be some level of what you brought up with governance. And it's not the hardcore governance of like, we lock it down. It's leveraging the tool. Like I keep thinking about it. Let's take the new member experience we're working on at KP. We had a conversation with our CX team. They did a beautiful job of bringing everyone along, product, marketing, UX, everyone. And I was like, the future state, what's going to be really cool with AJO is it's not AJO on its own, but instead of going through slides, we're going to all be rallied around what's happening inside the tool. And then we're going to all be able to look at it together and go, okay, in real time, we thought this was the right way to move people, but we're seeing friction. So in real time, Silva's going to be able to go, I'm going to change that right now. But I feel like we haven't gotten there yet, but it's that kind of education and then the lab work. You need people in it too to see it, because when you talk about it, it's too ethereal, right?
Yeah.
So.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, thank
Good
you.
day.
Hi, I just want to say this has been my favorite session all week, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Clearly, we're not the only ones, so thank you. I work for Red Hat. We're a B2B company, and we are transitioning from like single channel marketing to omni-channel strategy journeys. So again, very relevant to what we're going through. And I would love for you, if you have time, to talk about how you measure journeys and how you know you get it right. For example, we focus on reach, velocity, and conversion. And I'd just love to hear what you guys look at, and then how you are measuring journeys. Are you looking at single experiences? Are you looking at campaigns? If you don't mind, you guys seem very smart, and we'd just love to hear your point of view. And thank you.
So we're still very early in this process, having just launched the journey not too long ago. I think we launched our first use case in January, so we're still in a little bit of a learning phase here as well. I think the important thing is to look at each of those moments and measure them and see how that is working. We're using, we were very similar, like we were very channel by channel, and our teams are even a little structured that way too. And so kind of taking that opportunity to look at it at a completely different view, and it changes the conversation, because now we're sitting in a weekly meeting and we're looking at like essentially a dashboard of what's happening within this new launch journey, and everyone's engaged because everyone has a piece of it. But it's not like, oh, email's reporting out this and we're reporting out, web stats. It's like it's a view of the journey, which is so much more powerful. But again, like we're very early in this process, and so I don't have like a silver bullet answer of like the way that it's going to be, but I can see it. I can see the future of how not only will we be approaching all of this work differently, but then we're going to be reporting it out very differently too. So,
Yeah, I love that, and I love it, and to add to that. It's like what you said with the baby steps and the small steps around this of measurement. It's like even with Second Sale, one of our big ahas was we had this nurture program, and we had to look at the content, and QD helped us with like auditing it and looking at it. And then it's not just about the character stack. It's about, again, are we really nurturing you, or are we talking to you about us, which is what ends up happening. And in healthcare, right, you're trying to say everything all at once. And we got really good insights from that. So measurement, I think, can be the hard KPIs, like you were mentioning. It can be hey, we got this much return. But what we're finding is we're learning a lot about how we need to structure things, how we need to approach it differently. And also even with the very simple like diligence of, lowering our unsubscribes. Again, not sexy, but really helpful, right? It's like our beginning kind of ramp. So it sounds like you're doing some really cool stuff. I don't even know where you are, but I'm like, you, hello.
All right. Well, I'm just going to ask everybody to do one more big round of applause. So thank you. Thank you again for coming to spend this hour with us. I know it's a long couple days. There's a lot of information overload, but we are very appreciative of each of you choosing to spend this time with us. And we look forward to getting to know any and many of you. All right, I hope you all have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, QD.